Hello everyone, I'm Kenneth and I'm starting a historical geography series where I make a research and edit video about every country in the world alphabetically. And the first one alphabetically is Afghanistan. So this will be a brief, simplified history of Afghanistan. What we call Afghanistan currently started in 1823 with the Durrani Empire, which was the first sign of the quote-unquote modern Afghanistan. Afghanistan being in the middle of the Silk Road means they got a lot of money and population throughout time, and they made it last. But they've had money and population for a decent time before all the civil wars and coups and stuff. The Durrani Empire is known as the start of the modern state of Afghanistan. However, nothing lasts forever. So the Durrani Empire collapsed like all empires did, and then the territory became many smaller, diverse Afghan kingdoms. Some Afghan cities now were the strongest states back then, like Kabul, Herat, and Kandahar. But like what we know about Afghanistan, civil wars are and were prominent in the region. From 1793 till 1863 was basically nothing but civil wars, which also made the area not wanted for future colonizing and invading. Muhammad Khan, who was the ruler of Kabul, hence why Kabul is the capital of Afghanistan. But then after he died, Afghanistan erupted into many civil wars. Once again, Afghanistan did during this time, well, not during this time, I'm skipping a lot of the history, so we're moving on to like the late 1800s. Afghanistan held an important role of being right in between the rivaling British Empire and Russian Empire, which those two are always at their throats, and that's also why Alaska was given to the U.S. But I'll get to that in like a year. One of the two powers decided to get more land, like all empires. Uh, Colonial empire, I'll add on to that. Colonial empires are very greedy. They just want more land and more resources. So the colonial one, which is the British Empire, decided to do a subjugation war on Afghanistan, and they took a huge L.
What?
That's
Embarrassing,
the stronger
bro.
one here.
What are you
That is
doing?
so embarrassing.
What are you doing?
A massive L. They got destroyed. Then they did a second war, which they technically lost again, but they also technically won.
Huh?
Huh? They didn't win, but they didn't lose. The British, uh, the British were able to spread a lot of influence in Afghanistan, so Afghanistan was basically a puppet. So they technically won, but that didn't last long. The greedy British came in for a third time to fully get rid of Afghanistan, to which Afghanistan destroyed. Skill issue, skill issue, skill issue, skill issue, skill issue, skill issue, and gained full authority again. That's a skill issue. Skipping ahead another like 40 years to the important stuff, in June 1926, what at this time was the modern Afghanistan, uh, lived until 1973, going past many big wars like WW2, the Korean War, and stuff like that. And then and not 1973, the monarch was overthrown. So then a more democratic Afghanistan emerged, which immediately was gone in like 5 years in 1978 when a communist uprising took over, which the Soviet Union wanted a piece of that, so they decided to invade Afghanistan as well. and they lost brutally. The
Skill
Soviets are
issue.
horrible. That's an L moment. Skill issue. USSR more like you're scared, so run. That was a skill issue. That war lasted like 20 years, and when the Soviets withdrew their troops in 1989, they collapsed right after. That's a big skill issue. That was their reward. However, Afghanistan never recovered from the war and the civil wars and the communist uprising and everything. So they kept fighting amongst themselves. Then the Islamic Taliban controlled basically all the country for basically a decade when that war kinda ended, but it was still going on. And yeah, so the Taliban controlled basically all of the country for a decade. But then Uncle Sam invaded the Taliban in 2001. I wonder who that could be. This war technically did the last 20 years
Skill issue.
till 2021, which
Skill issue.
that's when it got
Skill
focused.
issue.
And in
Skill
2020,
issue.
2020 and 2021, the war became a popular thing. Not to mention, the U.S. wasn't alone in that. Many NATO countries, several South American, like and African, Asian countries helped, and they dipped. The Taliban ended up regaining control of Kabul, thus ending the war and ensuring a Taliban victory. And that is it. Yep, my face cam got it to work, and I don't know what else to do for this last part. So I'll just end the video. Today, Afghanistan has horrible living standards, low GP per capita and GP, and just not a good place to live in, being controlled by this Islamic dictatorship republic. Over 40 million people is crazy, because that's about the same as Canada, and it's a big difference. There are a lot more in the history of the Afghan lands that are the predecessors, but I'm not doing those because this is about Afghanistan. And yeah, that's basically it. Bye.